at the squad now, I still feel we are one player short, one attacking player short in the January transfer window, and that's disappointing. And had we got it, I'd have been happy with what we'd done. There was some good business by West Ham. Theo Kerr went first of all. Was I disappointed to see Kerr go? Well, to some extent, I was more disappointed that Kerr didn't work out at West Ham. I still think there's a good defender in there. But in regards to his playing time and the fact that Moyes wasn't really using him or needing him, it made sense to let him go, and we didn't need to replace him. So I think that was good business by West Ham. Was I disappointed to see Fornals or Benrahma go? No, individually, not at all. They both needed moved on in the summer at the latest. They weren't going to be here on matchday 1 next season, so they were leaving West Ham at some point. And I think we've got a good fee for Saeed Benrahma. If we end up getting 17 million for him, that's fantastic business. The Fornals one is a little bit on the low side, but when you consider his contract situation, it's not a bad deal in the end. I think we did good business moving players on. The disappointment for me was not replacing Fornals, let's say. I think the signing of Callum Phillips is still a really good one. I'm still happy with the Callum Phillips signing. 2 big errors, bad start to his time at West Ham, yes. However, I think we'll see the importance of this signing. I don't need to tell you how good Callum Phillips is. We've all seen him. Different teams, different situations, and I think he will be a good signing for us. But I think we'll see how important the signing of Phillips is when Edson Alvarez is unavailable. Whether it's suspension, injury, or can't play due to returning late from international duty. We've got an international break next month. He'll go away to Mexico. We know when he comes back, it can be a little bit hit and miss if he's available. And if he is, he's usually off the plane and playing. Not quite, but you know what I mean. There's always a question mark over Alvarez's availability post-international break. That's when I think we'll see the importance of the signing of Phillips. Because the one thing I've hated the most this season is that double pivot of Souček and Ward-Prowse. I detest it. The signing of Phillips means hopefully, I do not have to witness it anymore. Now, of course, ideally, we'll see Alvarez next to Callum Phillips. I'm hoping we see that at some point. But the importance, I think that's the benefit of Callum Phillips. Anyway, my point is, one player short. The January transfer window is done. I don't blame David Moyes for the January transfer window. I think there's a lot of rumours going around that he rejected a lot of Steiden's recommendations. It's normal. It's good. I want to have a manager that doesn't just accept anybody. Likewise, you need a manager that will accept some suggestions. And I do believe that Moyes wanted Ibrahim Osman off the back of Tim Steiden's recommendation and West Ham scouting. And Moyes said, that's the guy I want. So while he rejected others, he didn't reject them all. He was happy with Osman. Sullivan just failed to allow Steiden to go get him. I think that's been proven now. With Osman going to Brighton, it proves that the player was willing to move, the club was willing to do business. It just got a bit costly for Sullivan. He bottled it. So that's not Moyes' fault. It's not Tim Steiden's fault. It's David Sullivan's fault. The guy that signs a cheque, it's his fault. But regardless, I don't blame Moyes for the January transfer window. I'm reluctant to blame Tim Steiden as well. Like I said, I think he made an error dealing with the wrong agent, but you could have resolved that. It's on Sullivan for me. But it's done now. We've got the squad that we've got. And I'm going to not ignore, I'm just not going to discuss past treatment of players, because we could sit here for ages talking about every player that David Moyes has managed at West Ham and argue whether it's been good enough or not. So you've got the very worst ones like Nikola Vlasic, but then I'd suggest you've got some of the very best ones such as Jared Bowen, Emerson. There have been players that have worked well under Moyes and Moyes has managed them well. There have been some players that he hasn't managed well. But you could say that about a lot of managers. You know, Pep Guardiola fell out with Cancelo last season. He had to go out in the January transfer window and loan. He was done at Man City pretty much overnight. He fell out with Pep. Off he was. Gone. All managers fall out with players. It's a normal thing. So I'm not going to go in too much to mismanagement of certain players. What this video is about, and what I think is important for Moyes now, is the management of the squad he's currently got. Because it's going to be crucial. And while I say I'm not going to talk about previous players, I will maybe talk about players that are still at West Ham that Moyes has had previously, such as Maxwel Cornet, such as Ben Johnson. And I think it's important that he gets the best out of these players, because if he gets it right with these players that are squad players, they can have a big impact on the season. We can go on and achieve good things. If he gets it wrong, it's making his own job difficult. It's difficult enough as it is, because like I said, I believe we're a player short. So if I believe that the squad is weaker now than it was when we came into the January transfer window, which I do Don't get me wrong, I think we've got the best player. Out of the 3 senior players that left and the one that came in, I think Calvin Phillips is the best player of the 4. But was it worth the trade? Was it worth letting 2 left wingers and a versatile defender leave in order to get Calvin Phillips? I'm not sure. I think the squad is now unbalanced. I think we're missing that one player. I don't know if it was a fair trade-off. So if I believe that we've got weaker, then I have to concede that by default, Moyes' job has just got tougher. And that's a new challenge for David Moyes, because he's now got to overcome that. He's then got to find that bit extra somewhere, and that is from the players that he's currently got. The players that haven't performed yet at West Ham, he's got to get them performing. Because if we're going to go on and be successful this season, which is qualifying for European football or winning the Europa League, that's success for West Ham. If we are going to achieve one of those things, or maybe even both of those things, unlikely, but we're going to achieve one of those things, he's going to need to squeeze every ounce of potential out of this squad. That includes players that we've not seen the best of yet at West Ham. David Moyes' challenge for the second half of this season is, can you get the best of Maxwel Cornet at West Ham? That's what we're going to be discussing. But before we do, just want to point you in the direction of Manscaped. Now, I know you might be thinking, Gio, I don't. Thank you very much for caring about my pubic hair, but I do not need a new pube trimmer. Well, you do. That's because you just haven't tried the Lawnmower 5 yet. We got our hands on it a couple of weeks ago. It is fantastic, and it still has the torch, my favourite feature from the Lawnmower 4. I know you might be thinking, I don't need a torch when it comes to trimming my pubes. You do. You've just not had a torch yet. But once you go torch, you can't go back. I know that doesn't rhyme. Doesn't mean it's not true. However, we're going to treat you this Valentine's Day so you can treat yourself or a loved one with 20% off everything. Just go to Manscaped. You can use the link in the description if you wish, or just head straight there. Google it, Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com, put whatever you want into your basket and use the code HammersChat, all one word, HammersChat. You get 20% off everything in your basket plus free shipping worldwide. Now, if you don't need a new pube trimmer and you don't want to get your loved one, bit insulting, isn't it? Hey, darling, I got your pube trimmer for Valentine's Day. Just in case you want one. I'm not hinting. I'm not saying anything. I just thought you might want the Lawnmower 5. Gio said once you go torch, you can't go back. So I thought you could have a... There's something for everyone and everything and every size as well over on Manscaped. You've got beard trimmers if you want to remove the facial hair or groom the facial hair, it's on there. If you want cologne, it's on there. If you want nice tight boxers, they're on there as well. So even if you don't have a date on Valentine's Day, your testicles can get a cuddle even if you can't. Anyway, go to Manscaped, use code HammersChat, 20% off everything, including the Lawnmower 5, which comes with a torch. Right, let's talk about some of these players then, because I believe we haven't seen the best of some of them this season. Even up until now, Maxwel Cornet is the biggest example. I was disappointed. While I've just been talking about how we're not going to look back, we're going to have to look back to last Sunday against Man U. I thought we played well in the first half. My opinion hasn't changed, but this is the fact of the matter. An hour before kickoff, we discovered Ben Johnson was playing on the wing ahead of Maxwel Cornet. Ben Johnson was selected ahead of Maxwel Cornet. Now listen, I thought Johnson had a good game. I thought he was one of our better performers. I was pleased with what I seen from Ben Johnson. But it doesn't mean it was the right thing to do. Select Ben Johnson ahead of Maxwel Cornet to play on the wing. Cornet's confidence must be at an all-time low, right? He comes into the team, gets an assist, he's ignored. It wasn't even in the squad. He came on in Europe, got the assist. He wasn't even in the squad the next Premier League game. He scores. Cornet starts, gets a goal. His reward doesn't even get on the pitch. That has to change. This guy's confidence must be really low. Now, his performance against Sheffield United perhaps wasn't the best, but he scored. There was something there. There was something to work with. You had plenty of time in training. Get him feeling like the best player in the world. Get him ready for the next game. Get his chest puffed out. Get his confidence up. And it came on against Man United. He wasn't great. I don't think he was necessarily terrible, but he wasn't great. We have to get him playing because he is the replacement for Ben Rama or whatever. 2 left wingers left. Cornet can replace one of them. Now, I don't want to say Cornet is like a new signing. Well, he is a new signing. Not in terms of time, but in terms of appearances, in terms of what he's contributed to West Ham. If you get Cornet fitting firing for the second half of the season and just contributing a handful of goals and assists, that will be like a new signing for us. So there is one replacement there for the wingers. But we have to get the best out of him. We cannot go the rest of the season assuming we're going to get no injuries. We have to do the opposite. We have to assume Paqueta's going to get injured again. We have to assume Bowen might get injured. Kudus might get injured. We have to assume that after the next international break, I don't know what Ghana's fixtures are, we have to assume we might have that issue that we had last time with Kudus and Alvarez coming back late because of the international duty. Mikel Antonio's back to fitness. Good. But it might mean that he's away with Jamaica in the next international break. So we can't play these players. Then you're going to have to look at the likes of Maxwel, Cornet, and they're going to have to be able to step up and they're going to have to deliver. But they can only do that if they're given an opportunity. And that comes down to how Moyes goes about his business. Now, it's almost like, as far as I'm concerned with Cornet and Moyes, it's almost like clean slate for me. Because Moyes playing Cornet has had barriers. Last season there was an injury. It was a write-off. Right? Just forget last season. But this season, he's had Fornals and Benrahma. There's only so many minutes to give to Benrahma, Fornals and Cornet. There was only so many minutes to give to them. Now, the other two got plenty in comparison to Cornet's. They're gone now. So that minutes Moyes had, whether it was 10 minutes at the end of a game, that was going to Benrahma or Fornals, they now have to go to Cornet. He now has to become a good squad member of this team. Whether he's got the ability, it's just whether he can do it, I don't know. I hope he does. But Moyes has got to give him a really good chance. And if Moyes can get the best out of Cornet, he'll become a really good asset to this squad. I'm convinced by that. But he has to do it. Ben Johnson. Now, this, in fairness to Moyes, this one's going good. This one's going good. He got back into the team. He played well. He's had games now. He's getting minutes. Johnson's almost now the 12th or 13th member of the squad, if you like. If he's on the bench against Arsenal, I feel quite confident Ben Johnson will come on. Now, where? We don't know. Right back, left back, centre mid, right wing, left wing. We don't know. Ben Johnson could go anywhere. But he will come on. That's progress. We're in contract negotiations with Ben Johnson at the minute. I'm optimistic they can get resolved. And he will go on. So while I don't think Moyes will get the best out of Cornet. I don't think we'll see much of Cornet the rest of the season. I think we'll see him now and again, but not loads. I hope I'm proving wrong. I'm confident we will see Ben Johnson. So I don't have too many concerns over him. Mavropanos is the other one. It's a difficult one. I'm not blown away by Mavropanos, okay? I'm not going to sit here and say he's the best thing since sliced bread and he should be in the team ahead of Zuma or Reguer. He's been alright. I think he's had some good games. I think he's had some poor games. I think he's had some okay games with iffy bits and okay games with good bits. Right? Jury's out. As far as I'm concerned with Mavropanos, by the way, jury's out. I don't know. Is it a good signing? Don't know yet. Because I'm not seeing him enough. And he hasn't had a consistent run of games. I keep waiting for him to get 5-6 games in a row. And then we'll start seeing him getting comfortable with what we do. We haven't seen it yet. I thought he was one of our better players against Bournemouth. Not the best, but one of the better ones. That he doesn't start against Man U. Zuma, who we believe can't play played Thursday, Sunday. He brought in a Gerd ahead of him. Now I get that why Zuma can move to the right-hand side of centre-backs. But Gerd played. And after the game, Moyes started speaking about how he's unhappy with Gerd. Saying, he's got some errors in his game, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't positive. But Moyes was almost complaining about Gerd. But yet, he dropped Mavropanos after a good performance for Gerd. This one, I'm more concerned about Mavropanos and Ben Johnson for some reason. Probably the £25 million aspect. But again, we need to get the best out of Mavropanos. But I think we will. Then we've got Danny Ings. Now, let me provide the disclaimer. He's been crap, right? Ings has been crap. He has been. I'm not going to pretend he's been good, or I'm not going to pretend I'm convinced he can offer something for the rest of the season. I'm not confident whatsoever. But, again, back to the matter was, he was really good against Sheffield United. I thought he was our better player. And his reward from that is next to nothing. He's barely had anything. Came on against Bournemouth, didn't come on against Man United. And it was almost like good performance. We're like, here we go, we've got something. Can we work with this? Ings after the game was not buzzing about his performance, but he was happy with his performance. First time I've seen him like that since he joined 13 months ago. And the reward, no football. Again, like I said, didn't want him to start against Bournemouth, but it's one of them. Moyes has to manage this better if we're going to get something out of Ings for the rest of the season, because these players are going to have to contribute. We cannot rely on the 12. You know the 12. The normal starting 11 plus Calvin Phillips. He's the 12th one. So Aviola, and then you've got Soufal Zuma, Aguerd, Emerson, Alvarez, Souček, Ward-Prowse, Paqueta, Kudus, Bowen, plus Phillips. That can't be it. That cannot be what we've got for the rest of the season. We need Johnson, Cornet, Ings, Mavropanos. We need these players. There's also Bonner and Creswell to a lesser extent as well. But Moyes has to get this right. And if he does, great. If he doesn't, we're going to end up in this situation where one player missing has dramatic consequences on what you do because there's no replacement. They're not ready. We've got European football coming up very, very soon, just round the corner. And I'm looking forward to it. But this is where these players that we're talking about in this video have to be ready. So that should we need to rest a player on the weekend, they can come in. And the two more things. How David Moyes has got, I'm not going to get into it. For the first time this season, we're going to see how he manages the midfield. It's been easy so far picking Alvarez, Ward-Prowse, Souček. It's been easy. There's no competition. Nothing. There was no alternative. Now, of course there was, which is drop one of them. Let's say drop Souček, move Paqueta over and bring in Benrahma, Fornals, Konate. There has been, right? But in Moyes' eyes, there's been no alternative. Well, there is now. Calvin Phillips. You now got 4. So how are you going to manage this? How are you going to manage them? Because what you can't do is isolate one of them. What you can't do is take one out and they just don't exist. And you keep playing the same 3 every week. And I don't think he will do that, but we cannot. I'm intrigued as to how he manages this 4 midfielders going into essentially 3 spaces. And the last thing, and this is a small grievance, but it irritated me a lot on Sunday actually, because of this small squad thing. Now Moyes has spoken about the positives and the benefits of a small squad. And I don't think it's tiny. Once everyone's fit, we've got a decent team. You look at the squad against Man U, you add Antonio and Paqueta to that, it's good. It's fine. It's good. The problem is everybody being fit for the rest of the season. It's unlikely. But the one thing that annoyed me against Man U, and like I said, it's small, but it was enough to... When we went 3-0 down, I told you it was petty. We went 3-0 down. 85 minutes, whatever. And I just thought, just put Scarles and Mubama on. The game's done. Man U had given up. They'd stopped. 3-0, that was it. Luke Shaw was coming off and Lindelof was coming on left back. Our players looked tired and given up. Kudus, Bowen, they looked a bit... They're 3-0 down. I get it. Put Scarles on for Emerson. Put Mubama on for Bowen. Give them a 10-minute rest, but also just give the youngsters minutes. Because Moyes at the minute wants a new contract and is confident. This isn't a Moyes contract thing, but he's talking about being here next season. On the assumption he believes he's going to be here next season. So there's a chance we're going to need Mubama. There's a chance Mubama is going to be a very senior squad member. At worst case scenario, we're currently in contract negotiations with him. 10 minutes away to Old Trafford. The game's done at 3-0. Put the 2 young lads on. Because the opportunity to give these youngsters minutes between now and the end of the season, and let's be honest, it's when we're 3 down or 3 up, whether it's 3-0, 4-1, whatever. Because when there's a 2-goal swing, we ain't putting the youngsters on. We might put Mubama on if we're needing a goal, but certainly not Scarles or Orford if he's ever on the bench again. So these opportunities, which is almost like can't lose 10 minutes, you can count on one hand how many opportunities you'll get. And it was just one of, I just thought, just put the young lads on. Just put them on. Rest the two main ones. Get the kids on. Because it'll be... Emerson probably doesn't want to be there for the last 10 minutes. Scarles must be chomping at the bit to get on. Anyway, small grievance, but when you have a small squad, it should present opportunities to the youth players. I think there was one on Sunday and we didn't use it. But like I said, that's more of a minor geo thing. But Moyes must use these squad players. Cornet, Ings, Mavropanos, Ben Johnson needs to get the best out of these for the rest of the season. Because we can have a good season. But we can also finish in the bottom half and get knocked out in the next round of European football. Who knows? I do think those players that we've spoken about in this video, they won't have the biggest say, but they will have a contribution one way or another, whether that's being on the pitch and doing something or sitting on the bench and not getting involved. They will contribute in one way or another. Anyway, there you go. There's my thought process for today. Tomorrow I've got a really good video. Well, I'm a bit biased. I spoke to Ian Bishop. I loved it. Really honest chat with Ian Bishop about the season so far, essentially, and the game ahead on Sunday. So pop back tomorrow if you've enjoyed it. Manscaped, 20% off. There's a torch on the Lawnmower 4. Lawnmower 4? There is on that one. Lawnmower 5 has got the torch on it. That's the one that I've got there. Manscaped, Hammers Chat is your code, 20% off everything. But if you enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up. Subscribe you to Hammers Chat, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow with Ian Bishop.